Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Wizard and the Priestess. We'd like to remind you that the exits are to your front and your back. And whilst you're with us tonight,
You
we'd
forgot
like
the
you to
rear.
land. No, they're just at the front and the back. They're not in the rear.
That is an unhealthy exit strategy.
Well, in that note, do you have a joke for us tonight?
Well, I didn't. But then I saw my doctor the other day and he told me I was going deaf.
Cough. You didn't go to no doctor.
He told me I was going deaf,
Uh-huh.
and the news was really hard to hear.
Awkward. Oh dear.
You're
Ah,
welcome.
oh, cool. Well, a little giggle's always good for the day, isn't it? It's good for the soul. I was thinking what else is good for the soul is to recognize some of the silly things that we play over in our minds.
All the stories we tell ourselves. Yeah.
And I recently had an experience with my children and I was. And you know what the thing with having kids and it's like living in the moment. So I, as a clinician over all the years, have been able to kind of listen to people's story the same as you have yourself, and you can hear it and you go, I can see what it is that you're doing that's not really serving you. I can see what it is that you're playing out time and time again that's not serving you. And this is my like what I'm catching, and here you go. And then let's break it down, let's chew it up in a different way, and let's help your nervous system soften or help your soul find reverence and fill you with love and light, and off you go again. And hopefully you do it differently next time. But what I'm experiencing now is in the moment of hard, when you are lacking clarity, it's really it becomes really interesting because I sit in this space sometimes where I find that I've got the tools. I can catch myself. I can take the deep breath. The other day, yesterday or the day before, my middle child, 3.5, wanted something, or she wanted chocolate in her. And I've been doing a little sneaky thing where I get these chalk drops. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. They're like 70% dark chalk. But anyway, I've just been putting a couple in my brekkie. Really, really nice. But then I started putting a couple in the kids' brekkie, and then it got to this point where now all they want is the chalk drops, and they won't actually eat the brekkie. They'll just eat the bits with the chalk drops in it. And I was trying to do the sovereign parent thing where I just say yes, and it's all cool, and like, whatever, it doesn't matter. But then they're hungry half an hour later because they haven't eaten enough of the porridge and enough of the nuts and the fruit and all the other bits that are in it. So I said no to the chalk drops, and she just flipped and threw her food on the ground and it went everywhere. Anyway, in that moment, I couldn't catch myself. The energy was like, I'm like, I've just told you you can't have chocolate, and now you've thrown it on the floor. And the reaction was not how I would have hoped, to say the least. And I didn't really do anything. Like I fumed, but I held it in. So I bit down hard, created a bit of a bite conflict for myself. And I just kind of looked at her and I was just fuming and I was like, what are you doing? Now we've got food on the floor and now we can't eat. And then, anyway, the story that I'm telling myself is the important aspect of that. And then the other thing that I've been coming to is the why, like the deeper reason why, because we don't actually know where we're going to go unless we're pushed in that way. So in my adult life, I probably was less pushed. You don't meet yourself in that way, the way a little child pushes you there. If there's something under the surface, if you're fully, I don't know, you've moved through all your things, you probably wouldn't be as activated, but obviously I haven't. And anyway, I'm trying to come to this space where I understand my whys more clearly. Like, my partner, Hampus, was like, you got to understand what is that underneath there? Because there's no reason to get angry at food on the floor. Really, truly. Like there is no like it can be a bit annoying and like that's understandable to be annoying, but anger and rage doesn't make sense. As a 3-year-old throwing their food on the floor. There's nothing rageful about that. It's almost comical, um, if you're
But
looking at it.
as a 3-year-old, it's the end of the world.
Yeah, but I'm not 3. Obviously, she was pissed off because she didn't get her choc drops, and she was going to show me that she was pissed off by throwing her food on the floor, and that was understandable. So it it's understandable from her perspective. It's not understandable from mine. It's understandable for her to be angry because she's 3 and that was huge and she missed out on something or whatever was playing out for her. But for me, and I've probably made that huge, right? It probably for some 3-year-olds, that's just like, oh, there's no chalk drops. Ah, damn, I'll get them later or something. But for my 3-year-old, who probably doesn't have chalk drops very often and then has started to get this kind of more yes, mum situation, is now used to yes, mum. And yeah, it's an interesting dance that I'm
So
playing with
is
in
Yes
many
Mum
ways.
working for you?
You know what? Yes, mum does work well in many ways. And I think that it's testing me in things because a lot of parenting stuff that you read will always say it's within the confinements of the boundary that a child feels safe that allows them to actually know life. Whereas the like Aaron Stupel stuff is not that. He's like they need to feel love. They need to feel connected. And whether or not there's boundary, there will be boundary within that, but it's boundary of safety. It's not boundary of like, you can't have because I've decided because I'm. But I mean, even one of my greatest parenting mentors would be Gamal Mate, and he definitely speaks to boundaries and the importance of them for children, especially the importance of not giving them if what they want because you're going to hold that steady. But another thing that I'm diving into because I just love to dive into more and more things. But the yes mum thing I like in many facets. I don't say yes to TV time too much. That's like still a no, but then there's points like if they ask me if we're at the shops and they say, "Oh, mum, I really want sushi for lunch." Before I would say, "No, no, we're going home for lunch. We're going to cook lunch." Whereas now I'm just like, "Well, yeah, sure." You know what? In this moment, like a $20 lunch that's going to suffice and it's not too bad. Rice, rice and avocado for the, or rice, avocado and tuna. It feels quite like, and they're happy with that. And they're stoked too. They're not only happy, they're stoked because they just got to eat out. Um,
So
and so that
as a
little
Yes Mum
sparkle.
concept, what are you saying
Mm.
yes to? What are you saying no to?
I think that personally, I got myself into a bit of a place where I would say no to things that didn't really matter to me, but I'd say no to hold power. So, for example, if like I don't mind them having a few chalk drops every day. They're good quality and they're 70% dark choc. I'm not afraid of that. So, but part of me, if they hadn't been the upstanding citizen for the day, would hold that from them. And it's in that that I think is the problem. And that is where the yes mum comes in. Instead of using it as a power play, it's more oh, yeah, sure. Like it's not an issue for you to have that. It's not a bad thing. It's not going to create ill health. Now we do still have, you know, we eat our vegetables and we eat organic food and we try our best to eat the best of what we have. And we always try and offer them foods that they like that are good. Um, but yeah, it's those little things where I would hold that just because I've been trained that no chocolate. Do you know what I mean? Chocolate's not good. And if they have too much sweet, that's not good. I do definitely, we don't have sugar like lollies at home, but now I'm baking because I'm a baker mum too. Um, we,
What meal number are we up to now?
oh, three, Matt, one a week.
It was about a month
Uh,
since you told the first one.
well, it's still only three. Um, I'm busy baking, but do you know
Baking
what
what?
today? Cookies. I
Hashtag
bake
yes,
cookies.
mum.
Chocolate chip cookies, that. Honestly, cookies are the best thing ever. And if my kids went to school, I would want to be the mum that when you came home, you had freshly baked cookies. But now I'm not the kid, my kids aren't at school, so we bake them together.
Would
And
you like
today
to
we actually
know
made
a mildly
sourdough
interesting
ones.
fact about
Yeah,
chocolate?
I want it to be less than mild. I mean, more than mild, more than mild.
All right. So, and I'll preface this by saying Cadbury knows this, and credit where it's due, did a very good job at this.
Okay.
There is arguably one perfect food in nature. Do you know what it is?
Coconut.
No, I mean, one of the things that fixes everything is coconut oil and duct tape. That's well established amongst males. Also, thieves oil, different episode. One of the, if you could put a perfect food on this planet, it is breast milk,
Uh-huh, yes.
mainly because it is 50%
Fat.
carbohydrate, 50% fat.
Okay.
Now, if you look at any Cadbury chocolate, the ratio of carbohydrate to fat are almost identical.
Okay.
So they've figured that out because the human brain is biologically wired to want and crave that.
Mm. Oh, you finished.
Yeah, I think so. I
Love that.
think so for now.
I mean, that's great. I think there's also, isn't that also the salt thing? Salt comes into that. Maybe Cadbury just worked out the 50-50, but there's also a salt thing that
Oh, there is
if you work out
so
the fat, salt, and carbohydrate, or even it's just fat and salt, or just fat, fat, salt, carbohydrate
there's
ratio, that's the whole thing.
so much research has gone into proving that um, food manufacturing companies, Nestle, Cadbury, etc., they've spent billions of dollars into chemical manipulation and psychological research to activate the satiety centers in the brain. So their products stimulate hunger in you, so you buy their product.
You know what I find really interesting? I have ne like in recent times, say over the last 5, 10 years, products don't interest me. Like Cadbury and Nestle, I have rewired my thinking around. And I just find like today I went to the shops and I was going to buy things. And it's funny because we don't have like a good organic shop close by. So I went to this place called Organic Feast in Ma East Maitland the other day, which is quite a drive for us to get to. But it's like beautiful organic shop, has all the things that I like. And but then I had to get a few extra things today. And I went into the aisles of Woolworths and I go straight to that little organic section, which is like this big.
About a
And
foot
I was
wide.
like, okay, I'm like, what do I need here? There was not really anything there. And then I think I got some organic apples and bananas. And then I needed a capsicum. And I'm like, oh, I had to just get like s- whatever was on the shelf, capsicum.
Plain so.
Anyway, it was interesting because it's like then I'm walking through the shelves and I remember I walked down the lolly aisle because we get these meat sticks, Kiwi meat sticks, and they have them at Woolworths, which is great. And they're in the lolly aisle. So you have to walk all the way down the lolly aisle and then you find these little meat sticks. And anyway, it's just that nothing in that all that flash, it actually like I've taught myself to like, but that's like the use to repel it or ignore it or like feel really off about it. But that's the thought I'm telling myself. So I guess this is where the thoughts that we tell ourselves in certain ways impact us. And whether we think of it, I guess as an alternate practitioner, I've been like, I was not afraid, but I really didn't want to get a non-organic capsicum. And so there's a part of me that was like, has brainwashed myself into thinking that that capsicum has no chi in it that's going to serve my body. But actually, it's probably is going to serve my body pretty well, whether
You
it's
can make it serve your body for sure.
totally.
And just
And I
looping
think
back
this
to the
is,
lolly comment, we'll just
oh,
clarify
yeah.
for our American listeners that lolly means candy.
Oh, yes, candy. I mean, surely they know what a lolly. Oh, what would they think a lolly is? They know it means candy.
Don't.
It's just not a word that they use. Um, Either way, yes, it's definitely, this is a loop that I've, like, this is a story that I've told myself and something that I now believe, which made it hard for me to actually choose a non-organic option, which is an interest, like, which is something that I guess I'm working on again now to not embed in my children so that they're not afraid of food. I grew up never afraid of food. My mum used to shop the savings. So if you knew even 20 years ago, 30 years ago, hang on, would it be 30 years ago now? The savings were the packeted chocolate roll-ups, Dunkaroos, you name it. Those are the things. Roll up. They were the things in my cupboard. And whatever was on special. So usually the semi crappy chocolate. Like not you didn't get dairy milk. There wasn't Cadbury always, but like you got, say, I remember picnics. Picnics went on sale a lot.
Love picnic.
Um, but those things were always in my cupboard. And so I never had this, like, there's nothing with food with me. In saying that, I had this conversation with my three brothers about food and how I was like, oh, can you control yourselves? Because I reckon it was because mum always had all the chocolate around. And then my younger brother, who's quite health conscious as well and eats pretty well, he just laughed at me. He's like, no, I have no self-control. He's like, open the chocolate block and it's eaten. Whereas you know me, like I just like a square or two and I'm pretty solid unless I haven't eaten that day and then I could eat the
Me
whole
too.
chocolate block. But you know what I mean? Anyway, I had this idea that the story that I was telling myself was the thing that was saving me, or the story that I had gained from my family. But this is the thing, it wasn't because my brothers don't have self-control either. So it was, I mean, they not either. I have self-control when it comes to sugar. It doesn't really fully light me up, I guess. But now that I'm a baker, it's it is slightly different. Like I really like, you know what? This is the epitome of my like mothering. This is what I want to be. I cooked dinner tonight. Before I cooked dinner, I baked cookies. So then we had cookies for after dinner. I also made a hot chockey, which was like decadent with like cardamom in it and cinnamon. And then I had maple and then I added a little bit of honey at the end. Anyway, it was like the
So
ultimate
we
hot
look
chocolate.
forward to Nula's cooking show in the future.
Well, thus far I can only make salmon and
Salmon and
rice.
cookies. Right.
Salmon and cookies. But my point is that it feels so lush to be able to do that. And also the thing with this was I did it with my kids and Hampus was there to help me too. So it was like a family event of cooking and being in the kitchen together. And we also now I was getting annoyed at something. I can't remember what Hampus did, but I got annoyed and he was like, "Oh, how good did you like my whys? Like I'm not going to be angry anymore, go." And I'm like, well, I haven't quite flipped the switch on that pattern or that thought or that story that I keep telling myself for whatever reason. Um, anyway,
So what's the story?
hmm, this is the piece. I don't actually know
So the
what it,
story's still unconscious
the story's still
because it's still
unconscious.
driving the conscious behavior reality, and the trigger's still there. Therefore, it's still unconscious. It's not really known to you yet consciously, but it's
Mm,
something to do. If there's a anger response, it has something to do with control.
mm,
So there's something in that situation where you perceive that you can't control person, place, thing, whatever it is. I'll be blatantly honest. I know Hamps is a good cook. How much involvement does he have in the cookie making process? We'll get to that another time.
not a lot. He doesn't usually have a lot. That's
Mhm.
me.
Yeah. So,
He gives me the recipe.
right. Okay. So, for most people, going back to, let's say, Woolies, the unconscious story people tell themselves as soon as they see organic, they think price.
Mm,
That's the story that is being told through them. Now, we would have very similar values when it comes to food, no doubt.
yeah.
And I don't care how much I don't look at my food bill. I would hate to know it consciously because then my dad's programming would come through, and why am I not, saving money on food when I can have an extra mortgage, whatever the fucking
Yeah.
thing is, right? So
If you don't smoke, you could have a Ferrari by the time you're 30. Stop
something like
smoking,
that. Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
So dad's always perplexed at how I never get sick.
Mm.
And we had this conversation maybe 2 weeks ago, and he was complaining. I was telling him about a client who, I don't know if I've told you before, but a client I had recently, her car, it cost about 280, $300,000. Financially, she's doing okay,
Yeah.
safe to say. Then I suggested to her to eat organic food. She was open, quote unquote, about it at the time that we had the talk. Now she's got inflammation throughout her body. I said, just go organic for a month and then see how you feel with your food choices. Because at least if it doesn't, if the pain doesn't get better, at least know there's nutrition coming in and it's cleaning her body. It's detoxing as she goes. Then I got a text from her maybe 3 days after our consult, complaining how expensive organic carrots were. It's like, sell one of your tires. That'll feed you for 6 months. But then it comes
Then
back
she
to
can't
this.
drive a car though.
Well, knowing her, she'd probably afford a chauffeur. Like, but then it comes back to values, which comes back to the story we tell ourselves. I can't
Mm-hmm.
eat organic food because it costs too much. I've got
Mm.
$1 billion in the bank, but I can't eat organic food because it costs too much. That's the story that most people tell themselves, especially when it comes to organic food. Now,
Mm.
I've eaten organic, let's say full time since, let's say, mid late 20s, but I haven't been to the doctor since I was 16.
Mm.
And the last time I went to make an appointment to the doctor was to get I think it was a mask exemption from COVID, and learnt that my doctor had been retired for 10 years. And then my dad's always perplexed at how I never get sick. So, well, I
Mm,
eat organic, I drink good quality water. If I have something, naughty, chocolate, coffee, whatever it is, it's going to be an organic version of it. That's why I wrote the
mm.
book, Doing the Wrong Things Right. If you're going to have chocolate, caffeine, sugar, what else is there? Salt, dairy, grains, all the things, you can hunt for the best possible versions of them. At least you're getting nutrition in so your body can use it, so it can actually keep you healthy while you're doing all the quote unquote naughty things, nutritionally speaking. But again, that comes
I
back to the story.
just want to plug that you can purchase that book if you would like on our website, www.thewizardandthepriestess.com. Shop.
Also available on Shopify. No, Spotify.
Oh,
One of them.
it's not on Spotify.
It is actually.
Our website.
It's on our website.
It's not on Spotify, mate.
Okay. So going back to the stories. So how many people do you meet day to day in everyday, everydaying? You can see their story playing out. Now, as a clinician, when you're working full time, and I can say it, I see it daily. The
Mm.
common story people tell themselves: I can't because I don't deserve it. I can't because I'm not good enough. I'm too old enough. I'm too old to learn this. It's too late for me to change. I can't do that because my wife, husband said blah, blah, blah. Can't do this because don't have time, etc., etc. That's the story that we're talking about.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna blow this open a little bit. I had this thought the other day about, or not, it's not even my thoughts. It's just been like as I'm like diving into this new form of thinking. When we when we accept what we've been told, even to the extent of accepting what we're told by us, right? What we've been taught to understand and believe in terms of how, we are literally alternate clinicians that are doing things differently because the biomed system doesn't make sense in terms of a thriving human vessel. And it doesn't make sense in the sense of like, I have this belief that humans are not expressing in the way that they should be. We are lacking luster because we're choosing to lack luster. We are because of the choices we're making, the limit placing upon ourselves. And that is essentially what you're talking about in terms of the thoughts that we're having. It sort of feels like it goes an even bigger step further where it goes, we have to blast open the whole the whole system, the whole matrix of everything to truly find what it is that is going to guide us forward and is um going to give us the freedom that is to live in this human divinity. And I think I had this conversation with so the story that I see playing out at the moment, obviously being around mums are the ones like that do tend to look after the economics in terms of the food and um, mainly food and extracurricular activities and things for the children and clothes and all of those sorts of things. So they kind of need to have a pretty good understanding of what's going on in their economics around those aspects. But I was explaining to them like a group of friends the other day that I have this vision that we're going to get to a point where money will, like, Because truly, we have the resources on this earth for every single human to be able to live wealthily, to be living an abundance life, an abundant, beautiful life. Without the, I know that there's the idea of the journey that we go on as a soul contract, and all the hardships that are within our contracts, and within the the infinite possibility, what is it, that infinite consciousness. It's like we're not living infinite consciousness. We're living like limited consciousness. And we're living in this space now where it's acceptable to have this real hardship and to have these patterns that are impacting us on the day to day, and I just feel like there's we have if we have infinite potential, I feel like there is so much more abundance available. We shouldn't be living mediocre. And one of the things that I was expressing, we went to a day spa for a friend's birthday, and I was saying how in my facial, I was like, wow, every woman needs support. And whether she's a younger woman, or a woman who is single, or a woman with a partner, or a woman with babies, or a woman with big kids, or like a crone or a witch, or you know, going into, like, every woman needs to feel supported, I believe. And being, having a facial is one of, I don't know, it's just such a beautiful way to feel a transference. Or like you would feel it too in the clinic. When you can hold a woman, or hold space for that lady to experience feeling held and connected to and nourished. She softens, she lightens, she becomes more of who she is in essence form. And I'm sure men do the same, but it's like it's a different feeling. It's a different vibration or resonance. But yeah, I think I was explaining to them, I'm like, I feel like there's this point where we get out of this rat race, like the rat race that we really are in, to make sure that we've got enough of everything when there is enough of everything. But it's like we are conditioned, and our the things that we keep thinking keep us limited to what is actually available to us. Even this lady who seemingly has everything, right? Everything in terms of economical supports. She's got everything, and yet she still is not choosing to have everything. And I feel like there's this opportunity that's coming, and I hope it comes in my lifetime, or I can create it, or something where we all can have, I see that, those images. I don't know if you've been to Rome, but there's these images that I depicted of the expression that they were explaining in the Romans when I was in Rome. I think I was at the Colosseum, and we're outside the Colosseum, and there's this like place outside the Colosseum, and they're explaining it's like the spas, and there's a lot, like, it's not a family, but it's like an adult spa where men and women go together, and I think they showered. Maybe that was the only place they showered, but it's not a, it's like baths. Like, you just go in, everyone's welcome. It's not, you don't have to be only welcome if you have enough money. Like for me, we went to the spa, and it was quite an expensive day, over $200, but it was lush and it felt beautiful. But I feel like that should be available to everyone. And it is available to everyone, but because we live in this system of finite limitations, we like block ourselves from those like lush, abundant experiences.
Yeah, I think most people are stuck in their survival mode, and that's associated with safety security, which automatically correlates to finances for a lot of people. So a lot of people have
Mm.
taught themselves out of it because they think they can't afford it, or they don't deserve it, or they, yeah, whatever the story is, right? So
I just wonder if we can take it further. Like, is there potential? What do we need to do to move from these limiting beliefs, or the things that we keep telling ourselves, that keep telling us that we need to stay within this capitalist society that devours and like literally devotes our livelihoods and our attention to money and what it can do for us, and the reciprocation of that, instead of connecting to the resonance and the reciprocity, or what's that word?
Reciprocity.
The like, yeah, of the frequency and vibration of humanness in the beginning. Because I think about it like this. Someone gave me this. You know how there's like a flock of birds, or today, for example, I was driving home from this from the city back to the country, and when I was driving back, this isn't very common here, but I saw a flock, well, at least I've never seen it, a flock of deer running down the hillside. A flock. Is that the word you're thinking of? You're like, they're not called a flock.
It's not a flock.
What, what's
Pack?
a
No.
group of deer
Pack?
called? A pack of
No.
deer?
Keep talking. I'm on it.
Okay. So there were these deer. There was about 10 of them, and they were running like it was as if I thought potentially they were being hunted. But they were, they were running, and I like stopped the car and I pulled over, and they were running towards the road, and then they like one of them darted, and then they all followed it, and then they
Bird.
darted again. A herd. Oh, that's right, a herd of deer. And then they darted the other way, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting because this isn't where deer would be. Like they're open. It's like no, there's no forest where they were running. It was like a big open field, is like massive. Anyway, then they ended up running, and it was like they weren't following the leader. They were following, I don't know what they were running from, to be honest, because where they ran, it wasn't the person at the front that they followed. At one part with one, and then the next minute someone darted the other way, and then they all followed that one, and then another one darted the other way, and they all, probably the same one darted the other way, and there was, but at least like there was no real leader. So it was like this, they were in a resonance with each other. They were in a vibration of movement. There wasn't like he is the king and you follow the king. Do you know what I mean? And you think of that, this was the example that I was given, was the birds. You know, when you see the birds flying, there's like hundreds of them, maybe not hundreds, but like 50 birds. And they're flying in that formation, and then all of a sudden one will move and they all just float, swarm with it. Or the fish, the fish, they're all swimming, and then all of a sudden one moves and they all kind of spiral out of the way or move in a different way. And there's no one leader. They're not following one person in the right or wrong direction. They're just going because the resonance of the movement is happening, and that's what they're moving with. And I wonder if the reason that we're actually really stuck in the beliefs is because everyone is believing those same thoughts. Everyone is thinking those same things. So the resonance that we're actually vibrating with is that. And it's less about our own, like, this is it. Yeah, what do you think?
I think there's one phrase to explain all of that in human psychology, and that's called sheep herd mentality.
Um,
So, with sheep herd mentality, think what happened during COVID. Prime example.
mm,
So, everyone went out and got vaccinated because they
yeah.
said something on the news was safe and effective.
Mm,
Yet, if you look at the data of that now, it's not quite supporting that same story anymore. Now, another good example is I didn't see my family for better part of 2 years
mm,
because they were told by a person on the TV that I, being unvaccinated, was a high risk person to be around. I was dangerous.
mm.
That's the story.
Oh, yeah.
So, well, I think we can all look back at that and see how that played out. Now, there are several stories collectively that we're being told, climate change being one, COVID, whatever the new thing is at the moment. But when you look at the story being told, do you really trust the storyteller? Now,
Mm,
ultimately, we're the ones who decide whether that story is true or not. So in that little scenario, do you trust yourself? And people who don't have their own story to fall back on are very easily influenced in following what everyone else is doing. And is what everyone else is doing, does that support you in your dream, in your goals, your values? And is that serving you in the human being that you want to become? And that can relate to the way you live your life, the food that you eat, the water that you drink. You know, a lot of people think that tap water is great for you because it has fluoride in it. And the what are they called? Fuck.
The European Union have outlawed that though. There is no fluoride in the water up there.
Yes. In Australia, though, it's dentists, that's the word. Dentists commonly tell patients that they need to drink tap water so they can get enough fluoride, not telling them which fluoride is actually in the tap water. And the fluoride that's actually beneficial is calcium fluoride. And in the tap water, it's
Which
actually
is only found in trace element
when
in
trace
spring water.
element in, naturally flowing rivers and lakes. And that's it.
Mm.
And it's only really beneficial if it's applied topically. So if they put it on the tooth, whereas the fluoride in tap water is sodium fluoride, which is classed as an S6 poison, which is the second deadliest poison on the poison scale. And they've shown there's numerous studies and many research papers out there showing that sodium fluoride actually has a dulling effect on the human brain, turns us into zombies. Now, if you're a zombie, you're very easily influenced, aren't you? So therefore, it goes back to who's telling the story. Do you trust the storyteller? Now, most people trust the storyteller because the person telling the story is in a position of, let's say, power and influence, i.e., doctor, specialist. These days, people on the news, if you're on TV, then it's got to be word of, it's like gospel, has to be true. But then they say that to the masses, but is it good for you as an individual human? Now, I saw a patient today who got a flu shot, this year's flu shot. And I said, well, what were you hoping that's going to do for you? Because he showed up with a lot of tension in his lungs and small intestine, particularly the hypogastric plexus, which, if you think belly button, pubic bone, it's kind of in the middle, but really, really deep. And he said, well, I hope it doesn't give me the flu. I said, but you get the flu every year. Oh, but I get a different strand of the flu. I said, great. So what's the flu shot doing for you? Oh, it protects me from another strand of flu. But that's the story that he tells himself. Or
Mhm.
I don't know how much I could reveal. Um,
He won't know it's him.
no, he won't. He won't listen to this. So, but that goes to the story he tells himself. I'll get the flu shot. I won't get the flu, but every single year he gets the flu. But then, as we've discussed, is it the flu? Is he really just being? Is he run down? Like most people. And if you run down, then your immune system is weakened. The two biggest cripplers, sure,
Mhm.
cripplers of the immune system is number one, fear. Number two, white sugar. Again, a lot of research showing, scientifically proven beyond doubt, that any white sugar consumption can disable the immune system for 4 to 6 hours. Now, you add fear into that, you add more processed food into that, add burnout into that, well, what do you
So
expect?
you're telling me I probably shouldn't let my kids have the choc drops. Is that where we came to?
Well, it depends what the choc chops are made of.
I mean, they're decent, but they still have sugar in them.
Or what kind of sugar? Is it white sugar? Is it sweetened with most good chocolate is sweetened with some kind of nectar. I think
It's definitely not.
agave is the popular one.
It's not agave. I would say that it's probably organic cane.
So sugar cane, I mean that's the best of the worst, right? If you had to pick
Yeah.
anything, yeah. So it comes back to the, if it's made of, if you're going to have sugar, have the best possible version of it. And everyone reacts different to sugar.
And that's where I think I want to jump in and say, like, coming back to everything that you just shared, it's all we really need to begin to be the guide again, begin to hear the voice inside of us. Like, there is something in many of us who went something fishy about this pandemic, does not fit or feel right. And one of my greatest things that I've always said and shared since probably, you know, for a really long time, I won't make decisions from fear. If I'm making a decision from fear, it's not moving through my body with, now I'm going to use the word with resonance or with frequency that feels of the right frequency.
So therefore, it's not real.
Mm.
So therefore, as Zig Ziglar said, fear is an acronym, which is actually stands for false evidence appearing real. So if it's not real, then you've picked it up from somewhere. So again, it comes back to, do you trust the source in which you got that story from? Is your own personal story strong enough to combat the story that is being told to you? Because if it's not strong enough, then technically it becomes a spell.
Yeah, and isn't that just the story of everything? And yeah, I just keep right now I've got to dig a little deeper into this, but I just like I was thinking about this today in the resonance, and then next minute I see this, what do we call it? Herd of deer come gallivanting. That's the perfect word for deer. Gallivanting down the abyss of like this big gigantic space, and it is such a reminder that we are in this resonance, that we are actually, when we are on, for me personally, when we are in a heightened vibration, rather than working from that fear, rather than working from those stories, when we are kind of lifting that up, lifting that frequency, moving from a place of love and connection and joy, that things start to happen in a way that feel good, and we are more able to receive information that feels good as well. So I imagine that people that are sitting there week after week or year after year choosing to do something to their bodies that hasn't actually given them the affirmation that it's doing what it's being told to do. They're doing it because they're being told to do it. They're not doing it because they're being like, you know, because if
Called
you
to
were
do it.
taking, hmm?
They're not doing it because they're called to do it.
No, there's no like, oh, this is what I should do because actually, you know what I find? I had a patient years ago, and every year she would get the flu shot. And she said, one year I didn't get my flu shot and my flu got so much worse. And I thought, okay, for you, this medication, whether or not placebo or not, I don't know. But for you, this medication feels right for you. And I don't know, I wouldn't necessarily risk that personally, but that is what she has found. And every year I tried to just gently guide her to look after her body through the wintertime. And I mean, now my mind is opened more to that because I sort of, recently we had a bit of a cold move through our house, and it was quite an interesting experience because we all had slightly different symptoms. We all started the same and then it all dissipated and different. It became quite different. And now that I'm looking at things through a different lens, I'm seeing how things can correlate in a different way, in ways that I hadn't before. For example, from a German new medicine perspective, a cough can be related to feeling fear, like a feeling of fear. And that it's like it makes sense from many ways. We see the lungs, we see that grief in the lungs, or that's TCM, or we can see that jump, that shock wave that comes with fear that can like impact then the external exterior of the body because the boundary hasn't been maintained, contained. That also feels like resonant from a Chinese medicine perspective, but it's seeing that happen and then looking at, one of my daughters had a cough and we looked at it and we were like, oh wow, actually we were talking about the potential of being lost and what you'd do if you were lost as a child. And I was trying to teach them my mobile number. I'm like, all you need to do is know my mobile number. Someone will have a phone and never forget that I will always be looking for you too. I will look for you until I find you. So you know that there's safety in that. I'll always be trying to find you. Anyway, my older daughter just started crying. She was like perplexed by this idea that we were going to somehow lose her. And then she was going to have to remember all these things. Next minute, she's got a cough. And it was I was like,
Interesting.
whoa, very interesting. But normally I would correlate that to, okay, she wasn't wearing shoes outside for like in the cold. I probably didn't have her enough jumper on. I didn't keep her lungs supported enough, and therefore her sickness turned into the cough. But
But
anyway, it's sort
interestingly
of,
enough, there's not one proven case that being cold causes you to get a cold.
mm, I guess the ancient Chinese and the way that I learnt Chinese medicine was that the cold can cause sickness through blocking the channels.
So is that then from the cold? Or is that through the body not adapting to its environment?
Well, everything is that, right? It's the body's imposition or disposition to the environment with in that situation, right? So
So it's the adaptability.
it's not yeah, for sure, but that would be always. Hence why recently we were celebrating my grandmother's 90th birthday, and the fear when my little baby coughed near her was palpable. And I was like, oh, she's not gonna hurt you.
But
But
according to your, was it grandma?
mm,
So but her story is that your child is sick. She's going to get sick because your child coughed. That's the story.
yeah, yeah.
Because that's the
And
story
I
that
think,
she was told, probably through doctors and, you know,
yeah, and understandably so. It was the same for us. I didn't see half my family for 2 years. And then I remember we saw each other, which this is a really funny or interesting G&M sort of thing as well. Is like then we saw them, and then within a week they all had COVID. And we'd had a bit of a cold and maybe it was COVID, but none of us like the sickness, like I felt like we'd been inside together for 45 minutes. And I'm like, it's interesting now after last year having that cough experience where the doctors literally said to me that contagion theory is so weak. Like it is so weak. The results, the research, all of that is so, so weak. It isn't like almost unplausible to claim.
well, not only that, if you cough, then for you to catch a cold or a quote unquote virus, you would need what's called ACE2 receptors in the lung.
Mm,
So You can look it up yourself, but human lungs do not have ACE2 receptors. So therefore, it's not possible to catch a cold or a virus from another person or a bat. Another
On that
good
note,
book, if someone wants to look into flu shots and whatever, Dare to Question is a great book by Ted. I'm just going to show you the the name Kuntz. Let
Kuntz,
let you
Ted
pronounce
Kuntz.
that for yourself, so we could
It's like
stay
Kuntz, but Kuntz.
just so we could stay non illicit. It's a really good book, but it's on how vaccines and flu shots are made and what they actually do to the body. Because my patient that I saw today had a lot of tension in his bronchi and small intestine slash hypogastric plexus. And vaccines do, sorry, the lungs and the small intestines react. They're very sensitive to vaccines because the carrier agent to vaccines is heavy metals, particularly mercury and aluminium, which is the typical carrier agent for vaccines into the human body. And
They have removed a lot of the mercury except for in the MMR.
well, I mean, the safe, they'll tell you that the safe level is so minute they won't
Aluminium is
affect.
really popular.
Well, I mean, regardless of how you want to quantify it, the safe level for heavy metals in the human body is zero.
Yeah.
So even if there's 1 billionth, it's still going to do something. And
But on that note, yeah, go.
I was going to say, and what what are nerves attracted to?
Frequency or
Metal.
electricity current. Metal. I
Metal's a
would just
conductor of
note,
electricity. So,
yeah. And I would just note that um I reckon it's really important to remember that you are so powerful that been we have been seemingly misguided in our like dull humanness. I want to in time be able to revitalize the idea that we can truly change the world around us, and we can go back to the places that mean that we sit in a herd where we are vibrating at such a high frequency that we can like attain it all without any money, without any monetary influence. We can live a human life in this human vessel with the planet that we've got as it is right now, with full abundance. We can have a spa that everyone can go to because people are living their soul purpose. And when we live our soul purpose and we experience that, I just think that the whole world will change and shift. And I'm hopeful that this Aquarian era that we are coming into is about to do that for us. And yeah, I'm probably going to I see myself as a crazed witch in the near future as
well,
I move through my mothering
if
realm.
you want some wizardry, then if you follow or even remotely understand the law of attraction, if you can visualize it, it has to happen by law. The more you focus on it, the quicker it's going to happen. I just
Mm.
hope for anyone listening, you're focusing on what you want, not what you don't want. Because shit gets weird if you focus on what you don't want. Then you become a victim of your own
That's it. And
manifestation.
I reckon there is something to that. There's something that is keeping us like keeping humans down here. We have to explode. We have to break that open. It has to end because there is so much more power to humans and so much more power to um, limitless belief. And I think that we're going to get there. And I'm very excited for us to stop thinking those
Hashtag
things that
the
are
stories we tell
limitless.
ourselves.
Have a great week, everyone. Peace.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.
You've been listening to The Wizard and the Priestess. Thanks for stopping by. Stay connected and be open.